Hello everyone, Andy from Andy's Randomness here, and today we're going to be talking about 4 public committee hearings, my favorite part of the month, where I get to react to the public speakers. Today we're going to be talking about Metro North. I never thought I would, but in this case, you know what? I know the public speakers very well, and I want to address to you what they've said today. We'll talk about Long Island Railroad, New York City Transit, and of course, bridges and tunnels, because a certain Mr. Murray Bowden decides to make a fool out of himself again. So of course I will be letting you hear what Murray said today at all 4 meetings. We're also going to be hearing from our familiar faces. Of course, that would be Jason Anthony Pinero of his own YouTube channel, who has the playlist State of the Track. And of course, Omar Vera, another mass transit advocate. You'll be hearing from them today, as we normally do every month. So first up, we will be hearing Mr. Murray Bowden. And I will mute my mic every time because I'm still coming off a cough, and I don't want to, you know, like I'm doing now. I want to be able to get it out of my system and have it on mute. So if there's a brief pause today, I do apologize about that, because there's something I can do about it. I'm still coming off my cold, but listen, I have stamina. That's all that matters today. I've gotten better. It's just that this cough is, you know, gonna go away in the next couple days. But anyhow, let's get to the first highlight from Metro North.
Governor Cuomo did something quite historic a few weeks ago. He said the L train tunnel didn't have to close for 15 months. He said, what's the latest technology and how can we do it today? And they did. They brought in people. Susan, if I might interrupt you, I watched your comments at the special meeting. I found them very interesting. One of the things you said, we buy rail cars for the next 40 years. That's what you said. It's on a tape. The only problem is you're buying the same rail cars you bought 40 years ago, which are not appropriate today. The governor said, what's the best rail car to buy today? The best rail car is an open car, doesn't have a cab on each side. It's not a married pair. I question whether or not you should be sitting there as chair when you don't realize that married pairs should not be bought anymore because they'll be here for 40 years. Now, who addresses that issue? The governor said, think differently, and you're not thinking differently. I don't think Metro North can afford to have you sit in that chair anymore.
So as you see there, Murray, once again, talking about Susan Metzner, who is a member of the MTA board. I'll show you who she is in just a second. Pull it up right now. Find her. So, this is the lady who is the chairwoman of Metro North Railroad, who, by the way, has been on the MTA board for almost 15 years. She's also on the Oversight Committee for Corporate Governance, Diversity, Long Island Railroad, and of course New York City Transit. And of course, she's the lady, as you see here. We'll rewind back. Let me find the part trying to find it, everyone. I do apologize. I'll keep him on mute because I don't want to hear Murray until we get to New York City Transit. Let's just fast forward for just a second. I'll close every tab out so that way. Here we go. So, the lady on the left is Catherine Rinaldi, and again, I've criticized her because she always gets to talk more than the Long Island Railroad does. And then there's Susan, who honestly has no business being on the board either. But again, I'm not the one to voice my concern about Metro North Railroad. Because once again, I just want to show you how Murray likes to make a fool out of himself every month. So now we'll go to our next speaker. We'll fast forward to Jason. Sorry about that. So I'll just slow the tape down, and once again I'll mute my mic.
Susan, Pat, Norman, Neil, and Randy. This month, I've been pretty much touring Metro North territory. I started off in New Rochelle. There's no audio announcements when trains arrive. Of course, we don't have sounds like Sunrail has in Orlando, what alerts people when trains arrive. And then after being in New Rochelle, I proceeded to go to Yonkers. I saw a person sleeping in the wing area. I assumed that was a homeless person. No MTA police present in neither station that day that I toured both stations. It is time, Cassie, that we should have more amenities, have our system biker friendly. It is time to have Metro North wheelchair friendly. And it is time already to have Wi-Fi aboard trains like Sunrail has, and enforce nothing done less than fare payment. If the person doesn't have the fare, that person should be, let's say, kicked off of the train by a conductor by following the fare payment procedures. So let's see that a reality, shall we?
That was, of course, Jason's comment from Metro North. And honestly, I'm disgusted to hear what Jason was describing at Yonkers. Because honestly, it's the same situation that I hear about on the Long Island Railroad. With regards to that, I will say this: I hope that the board listens to what Jason said today, because honestly, I would be taking a look at that situation in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium, of course. The last thing you need is the homeless hanging around there when the Yankees start playing in March. But needless to say, you know what? If Jason and Murray speak every month, we're going to highlight them, because remember, Murray's the fool. Jason is the guy that you look forward to seeing every month, because he's the one that provides insight. We'll talk about Sunrail right now. Get this part over with, because honestly, you know what? I'm going to get 21 questions about this. So, what Jason is referring to is, of course, Sunrail, which is a rail system in Orlando, Florida. And they even get you to the Amway Center. And there's a station, if I am correct, don't know if it's true or not, takes you to a bus that gets you over to Walt Disney World. So, I want to explore this one day if I get to travel. Because, I know for a fact that Amtrak is in Orlando. That would be interesting. This is, of course, your map of Sunrail. And this is interesting how they've expanded over the years. It's a bigger map, but they do give you a lot of good amenities, which is awesome. I gotta give them credit. And hopefully they will make this on weekends. That would be interesting. Interesting. They do have a disability discount. I'm impressed. As I said, I've told Jason this off camera, or off screen, that I would like to explore the Miami and Orlando mass transit system. So this began on May 1st of 2014, which began 5 years ago. Interesting. Florida state government funds this. And you'll hear Jason talk about it in the Long Island Railroad, but you know, this is good. I would like to explore this one day, if I'm ever in Orlando. Silver service to New York. So I have a lot of Amtrak connections. As I said, I gotta look into this Orlando system. I would like to explore it. No question. I would. And you can't get to the Amway Center. Interesting. They're gonna put one in Orlando. At the airport. That's pretty good. I'm just curious. No. I know I researched Bob Hope one day, but you know, that's a different story. We're talking about Sunrail today. Let's see. I don't see anything about bus service. Oh, okay. They do have a connection for the future Sunrail. So that's interesting. When Orlando is expanding its mass transit system, because I've heard I-4 becomes a nightmare during rush hour. So further inland in Orlando, I would hope that they you know, do the right thing. Do apologize about that. I'm almost on my cough drop. Okay, so we did a bad thing, folks. I accidentally closed out of the Let's see if I can get it back. Here we go. Do apologize about that, everyone. I did not mean to close that one off. I wanted to get to the Long Island Railroad meeting. So we'll get to the Long Island Railroad right now. And we're going to hear from, of course, the important public speakers, which again, 3 of them. Jason, we have Murray, and we have Omar. Omar actually got to speak today. Omar has actually been going to the Long Island Railroad meeting. And once again, Omar Vera was our inspiration to do Hoyt Schermerhorn Street. So, hopefully, I do get him and maybe Jason on this channel. I know I definitely want to get Omar in because he knows a lot about the Brooklyn system along with Jason. So, would I like to have them at Greenpoint Avenue for next week? I will discuss that with them off camera. But they're more than welcome to join me. Anyone's welcoming to join me on my summits. So next up, once again, we will listen to the 3 public speakers. First up, it will be Jason.
30 seconds left.
Good morning, Long Island Railroad Committee. a couple of issues that I want to bring up this month, and that is to install Wi-Fi aboard trains and enforcing fare payments, just like Sunrail in Central Florida, because we are seeing a practice that's normally a New York City Transit issue. We are seeing it also on Long Island Railroad. And we're asking management to move one of the AirTrain ticket vending machines from Penn Station to Atlantic Terminal Brooklyn, Flatbush Avenue, because all trains that depart from Atlantic Terminal Brooklyn, that's my home station, has to stop at Jamaica and, of course, fix East New York Station, because that station is a disgrace. I was there recently a couple of times, and that station needs to be fixed. And regarding the decrease in ridership, I want Elisa Pica and Philip Ann to take this very seriously, because we don't want a chaos. We want a system that is in the 21st century. And having that in mind, if we have people paying fares and people that don't pay fares, why not the conductors enforce the rules of letting people know that they have to have their fare ready before the boarding trains, just like in Sunrail in Orlando, Florida. So it's time to change. And that's all I have to say for this month.
So once again, very good points by Mr. Pinero today. And again, that's going to happen. I do apologize because, again, post-nasal trip, I can't do anything about it. Is it safe to hold it in? Maybe, but listen. Bottom line is, Jason made good comments, and I wish they would take Sunrail's example, because honestly, at this point, what does Long Island Railroad have to lose? Other than the fact that they become awful every day, and the fact of the matter is, they do need to modernize it, and this third track project better not be an epic fail, because if there is, there's going to be so much controversy with it. It's already controversial, everybody tearing up their houses for it and losing their properties. Modernizing the system's one thing, let's keep it up. So next up, we have the fool known as Murray Bowden.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Murray Bowden.
At the last meeting, Neil. I know. At the last meeting, Neil proposed that they come up with a way of cutting the time for something or other from 15 months to 10 months. He was saying we can't do it the same way we always did it. We need to do it a new way. Chuck asked if there were anybody had an idea of doing things differently, because the same way doesn't seem to work anymore. And at the first meeting, I said Susan had to be replaced because she was prepared to accept married pair railroad cars, when at the board meeting I saw her say, well, we order stuff for next time. But that's not what's appropriate today. Which brings us to you, Mitch. Hi, Mitch.
Hello there, sir.
I know you're there. You're listening. Hi, Chuck. You missed me. I just talked about you. What's your responsibility, Mitch? The governor said, let's put the 7th Avenue trains, I can't find the words. Let's do the tunnel a different way. I've said to you 100 times, let's do the railroad crossings different ways. You're going to take that responsibility and find a way to do it differently, the way Neil suggested, the way Chuck demanded. Because if you can't figure out how to make the railroad crossings use only traffic lights, you don't belong here either.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, folks. I gotta play the soundbite. Because this fool every month, I swear. Oh, wrong one. I do apologize. Let me play the right one. Once again, this fool, every month he does this. Every month! He talks about, oh, you get to the railroad crossing, and you just wear a savage. Here's another sound that would best describe a certain Mr. Murray Bowden. Alright, I'm gonna play it right now. Adult sound. Let me find it if I can. Here we go. This is Murray! This is Murray Bowden, folks. You have to understand one thing about Murray Bowden. Okay? This is how I feel about Susan Metzler and the president of Metro North, Catherine Rinaldi. This is the same thing I feel. This is it right here. Every time Murray talks about bridge and grade crossings, it's like, Murray, you do this every month. Stop. Just stop. Alright, we get it. You've been talking about this for months. Alright? You know as well as I know that Nassau Boulevard and the Willis Avenue. Have you been to New Hyde Park? Have you been to New Hyde Park, Murray? That's one question I want to ask you if you're watching this. Have you been to New Hyde Park? Go take a look at the station house, a little tiny signal switch right across from Celebrity Moving. Go over there. Tell me if that signal needs to be replaced. Tell me if those grade crossings need to be replaced. Because certainly, when I did my epic fail video back in December, okay? You saw how bad it was. Everybody did. You want to talk about an outdated signal? Go to New Hyde Park. I dare you. Go to New Hyde Park. See how old those crossing gates are. They're decades old. Murray, they need to be replaced. You talk about Mineola all the time. Have you ever looked at New Hyde Park? Go to New Hyde Park. In fact, while you're at it, go to Merlon Avenue for all I care. Maybe Merlon Avenue needs to change. There's going to be another epic rant at the end of this video. I promise you all this. Because we need to talk about something else that's desperate here today. And once again, enough with this, alright, Murray? This is what you sound like. This is exactly what you sound like. Now, there's one thing I will agree with Murray on later on in this video. And that is we're going to discuss a certain public enemy on this channel. Someone who has caused my life hell in Queens. And it's caused my parents hell in Queens too. Alright? Let's play Mr. Pinero's comments first. Because Mr. Bowden... Oh, wait, we didn't even talk about, we didn't talk about Omar. Right, we gotta talk about Omar. So here's his comments.
Our third and last speaker is Omar Vera.
From the Long Island Railroad.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to January 2019 edition of the MTA's Long Island Railroad Committee. And for a brand new year, this is actually going to work really good. First of all, for car upgrades, we should have, like I said, both Wi-Fi and more space to put luggages, because very often, many people often use the LIRR to travel to JFK Airport. And of course, And of course, also, if the governor's plan ever goes through with AirTrain LaGuardia, that'll probably be the same thing at the Flushing stop. Or Wills Point, sorry, Wills Point. But in any case, yes. So we should have enhanced Wi-Fi, all the stations as well, not just the trains. Because remember, we're supposed to be moving forward. And of course, with that, I reiterate this tons of times before, but I'll say it again. Have the AirTrain machines at the at Flatbush Avenue, the Atlantic Terminal, just so people can travel there. If the Brooklyn passengers don't want to go to all the way to Penn Station, they can just take the train with the discount to Jamaica for the AirTrain to JFK. And last but not least, so hoping everything goes fairly smooth, and keep up the good work with the East Side access, because people are going to need that. Those who want to go to access the East Side of Manhattan from Queens and don't use the subway, but rather use the LIR, we need to give more options. That's why we're supposed to be Excelsior. Always strive higher. In any case, have a good one, and see you around.
That was, of course, the Long Island Railroad public speakers. I gotta say, I'm very happy Omar is promoting East Side access, because that is very important. But once again, this AirTrain experiment, I'm gonna call it an experiment from LaGuardia. I think it's still gonna fail, because once again, and I mentioned this before, that it should really be at Woodside. Okay, it should be from Woodside to LaGuardia. And yet this governor is so out of touch. By the way, in case you're wondering, this governor is from Astoria. Wouldn't it make more sense to do it in Woodside? Or have the AirTrain start in Astoria for all we know? Not at Willets Point. So once again, I've mentioned this before on this channel. This governor is from Queens, and yet he always finds a way to screw Queens. He always does. Just like our mayor, and just like our DOT commissioner. And at this point, with the government shutdown, even our president screws Queens. So nobody wins. This is why, again, there needs to be a new city order. I'm calling it NCO in 2021. We'll talk about that later on in the future of this channel. Because I love to talk about that. New city order. Or old city order, or whatever. Alright. Before I get off topic, let's get to New York City Transit. And then we'll see Murray making a fool out of himself the next two videos. So here we go. Let's talk about Jason, Omar, and Murray at New York City Transit today.
Good morning, Transit Board. Good morning, Andy Baifa, and your first anniversary, and good morning, Freddie Ferrer. I'm here to bring up this month an issue that one of my fellow contributors to my social media networks brought to my attention, and that is regarding the Orion 7 old generations at Queens Village. We want to know when these buses are going to be replaced. And another contributor to my social media networks brought to my attention the issue regarding bed bugs in our system. All this is in Queens. We want a thorough investigation regarding the brakes on the trains being automatically activated. This is happening on a daily basis on every single subway line. We want to know why we're not seeing USB charging ports on the new stations opened by ESI, especially 174th and 175th Street on the Concourse line. That station, it looks disgraceful, according to a station tour that myself and another contributor to my social media networks did, that the tails are missing, and lack thereof elevators for those that are disabled. And we are still questioning about the L train shutdown work, because why we're not pressuring Governor Andrew Mark Cuomo to spend his 3+ years doing this examination instead of doing a 1-hour tunnel tour in the station. So let's see if we get improvements done, shall we?
Thank you, Mr.
All right, so that was Jason's comments. Thank him. I want to thank him very much for bringing up the situation with the Orion 7 Old Gen along with the Nova Bus RTS, because honestly, once again, I'm still keeping my theory about it regarding the time we're here in 2020, and hopefully by 2020, all of the buses are gone. No more Orion 7s. You need to be off the road. Bottom line. Also, I want to thank him for bringing up the tweet that I retweeted. I'm not going to say who the user is because right now his identity must be kept secret. But I will say this right now. The bed bugs are just one issue of many numerous issues, including once again roadencide. And once again, I will mention this, that I'm going to give the MTA 2 more weeks. I'm giving them 2 more weeks, alright? And I'm going to let them know when I go to Greenpoint Avenue on Monday next week. I'm going to let them know on Twitter. I'm going to show them the photo. I'm going to let them know. You guys need to start baiting the roadside at Kew Garden Union Turnpike. That's another issue that I'm worried about. And as far as that station is concerned, I'm going to have to maybe examine it myself, and we may have to do a summit. Is it a candidate? Absolutely for now. We'll see if I can put it in the agenda. Because once again, when the summer months come, you know where I'm going to be the majority of the summer, and that's going to be in Massapequa. Because once again, I need to get away from the humidity. If we're going to get these unbearable summers. Because I have a theory we're going to get it again. So anyhow, let's fast forward to another controversial public speaker by the name of Tony Murphy. Now, who is this particular individual, you may be asking about? Well, he's from a controversial group called the People's MTA, or as I like to call it, Unpeople's MTA, or not so nice People's MTA, because they're hypocrites and they endorse fare evasion. So let's hear what this fool Tony had to say today.
Good morning. I'm here to add my voice. I'm Tony with the People's MTA, and it's come out in the media. Some MTA board members have complained because they weren't consulted about the L train situation. And it seems to me that if the MTA board wants people to listen to them and to be relevant, they need to take the side of the riders. That means taking a stand with people who are here today and not raising the fare on Access-a-Ride. It means not raising the fare for anybody, for that matter, for a system that's quite dysfunctional. It means putting in elevators. Don't use our fare money to fight the lawsuits about elevators. Install the elevators and the ramps. Use the money for that. It means not using the NYPD to arrest people for not having the fare, which is done in a racist way. It means taking a side with the riders and not blaming so-called fare beaters for the dysfunctions of the system. And most of all, it means taking the side of the riders and not raising the fare when so much of the money that's taken out of the MTA goes to Wall Street in the form of bond payments or other companies like MasterCard. Everybody gets paid first, and the system itself is crumbling. You just heard witness from Gene about the problems on the express buses. This should be fixed. This should be not a problem. This should be automatic. The excellent breakdown that was just given by Iman Ramawi. Don't raise fares on Access-a-Ride. People on Access-a-Ride are often on disability. this is something that absolutely cannot be afforded. If the MTA board wants to be relevant, if it wants to maintain its relevance, it will take the side of the riders and do the right thing and take a stand against the fare hikes. And if the MTA board can't do that, then maybe there's a reason why people aren't listening to you. Thank you.
Well, I want to remind something for a sec because something funny happened during Mr. Murphy's speech. So we'll try to fast forward it as fast as we can because, again, we are trying to keep this under an hour, of course. And, of course, I wanted to save a very big epic rant for later on that I want to talk to you all about. So as you see, here's Tony rambling on and on and on. You know, it sounds like you're speeding up a chipmunk at this point because honestly, this is what I'm trying to do, folks. This is what I'm trying to do. Okay? And another thing, get rid of these stupid captions. Because honestly, every time I watch these meetings, I have to make one brief criticism. I'm sorry, but enough. So there's Jason right there filming Mr. Murphy. This is pathetic on the MTA's part. I like Jason for doing this. I saw his viewpoint, and that's a good thing about Jason doing this. But to shame Jason like this, this is awful. I really do feel bad for Jason. I really do. Jason's just trying to do his job, and all of a sudden, they embarrass him like that. It's like, come on. Focus it on the speakers. It's really pathetic on the MTA's part. Jason's trying to do what he loves to do, and the MTA shuns him for it. And unfortunately, this is not erasable.
Well, since we hear from so many speakers, and this has been a topic discussed since last month about the fares, and I mentioned last month over in Brooklyn at Long Island University that this fare increase can't keep going on forever and ever and ever. Like, I remember growing up, it was $1.50 until I was about like 10 or 11 years old in 2003. I turned 11 that year. And then they raised up to $2, and then that was the standard until 2009, where the current biannual fare changes kept happening. And like like I said before, that has got to stop. For now, you should just keep it stable at $2.75, but we should look for a way, because we have a new government in Albany, and that will finally focus on what the people want rather than what certain interests want. And so, eventually, when we get enough funding, we should bring the fare back down to $2. That should be the standard bearer, the way it was in 2008, the way it was actually most of the last decade. Just bring it down to $2. That's all I'm asking. That's all we're asking. And furthermore, or at the very least, you can tie it up to like income increases and stuff. That should be the same standard with inflation. Tie inflation to minimum wage. But in any case, as for the L train project, we were all here last week about what the governor proposed, and like I said, there needs to be more work done regarding this before we can pick the plan, because we planned this for 3 years. This year and a quarter change. Well, first it was year and a half, then it was year and a quarter reconstruction project on Canarsie. That needs to be done now because it's almost a century old, the tunnel. It's crumbling from the Frankenstorm that happened in 2012. It needs to be fixed. And let's get to work with Fast Forward. Thank you.
All right, very good points by Omar about the fare hike. And once again, I encourage you all, Thursday I will be doing a reaction video about the fare hike, if there's going to be one or not. And of course the public speakers, because I have a theory Mr. X is probably going to be there, aka who my mom calls the lunatic at Mill Basin Plaza. Or she used to call him also the lunatic from Brooklyn College. Because trust me, my mom actually knows who he is. Because they lived in Brooklyn together. But the catch is, my mom's from East Flatbush and he's from a different part of Brooklyn. But yeah, Mr. X is probably going to show up. He's probably going to make a fool out of himself. Oh, this is going to be too good. I can't wait till Thursday. Which again, countdown clock to Faremageddon, which that's what I'm calling to Thursday. That's what I'm officially calling it at this point, because I am dreading January 24th, 2019. This could be one of the worst days in the MTA's history. Bottom line. Because you guys are going to think about raising this fare. And I'm going to urge Governor Cuomo right now, override the board. Do not raise the fares until the service improves. Because right now, New York City Transit and the Long Island Railroad, and this is a pattern that's been going on since 2017, and I'm dating it back far back then, 2 long years. You need to stop. Bottom line. Now. Right now. No more fare hikes. And I'm talking about when the service got bad. That bad. It's a disaster. And you want to raise the fares? Faremageddon is coming. Book the date, folks. The date will be this Thursday, January 24th, 9 a.m. And once again, I will be dreading this day for the rest of my life. Because it'll be coming. It will be coming. And not to mention, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days after my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday was last Saturday the 19th. So literally now I have to remember January 24th every year if this fare hike happens. Because believe me, 5 days after my mom's own birthday, I'm going to remember this day very well. I'm going to. Now, Mr. Murray Bowden talks about the worst DOT commissioner in New York City history, and that is, of course, Miss Polly Trottenberg.
Mr. Vera. The next speaker is Bruce Hain, who will be followed by Murray Bowden.
Is available today, and how can we apply it to the tunnel? There were studies done 5 years ago, but 5 years ago the technology was not available. That's available today. It's excellently done. It uses the most modern. And you need to be flexible because as new things come out. Polly Trottenberg, Commissioner of Transportation for the City of New York, raised some questions at that meeting. She has no standing to raise any question whatsoever. Her department completely ignores the manual of uniform traffic control devices. And if she cannot control her department, how can she raise questions about what's been done about the L-train tunnel? In particular, on the West Side Highway going north at 61st Street, the lines have been wrong forever. I've brought it to their attention with pictures for years. It is ignored. If her department cannot understand that the law must be followed, she has no standing to raise questions about whether or not you're doing the tunnel correctly. The tunnel is being done correctly. It's using the latest technology available today. Today they announced that Uber Eats will bring you something from McDonald's or some other place for $2 and some odd surcharge. That didn't happen before this morning. This is a new world. This is the world of my grandchildren and not of mine. Use the technology that these young people understand and what's available today, and not something that was current 5 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Mr. Chairman, that
All right, so that was, of course, Murray's comments at New York City Transit. So lastly, let's hear what he had to say at Bridges and Tunnels. And of course, he makes another bigger fool out of himself, talking about, once again, the L train. And one last thing before I get to Murray. Once again, Murray, come to Queens, see how bad Trottenberg has ruined our infrastructure, and once again, I'm going to mention this, we have a new... Actually, no, I've never mentioned this. Right, because my coach is making me insane. Whoopi Goldberg, thank you. Thank you for realizing that these stupid bike lanes are causing our problem. In fact, I'm going to invite Whoopi. Maybe she'll come out to Fresh Meadows, and maybe she'll be on my channel. I would love to have Whoopi Goldberg on my channel. Think about it. She lives in Manhattan. She come out to Queens. Whoopi, you should see how bad the stupid bike lane on 73rd Avenue is by 188th Street. Because it is causing a humanitarian crisis. Alright? People can't make right turns. People can't go straight. And they have to wait another 44 seconds just for the green light. We have a champion now, folks. We must listen to Whoopi Goldberg because, trust me, she even hates Polly Trottenberg too. Because honestly, maybe Whoopi Goldberg should be New York City DOT commissioner. I would love to see Whoopi Goldberg get that job. And maybe she is the voice of reason. But once again, Polly Trottenberg is another pathetic waste of that MTA board, just like Elisa Pica. That's the right term I'm going to use if it's going to be explicit. Now, on to the fool's last comments.
When Governor Cuomo said we don't have to shut the L train tunnel down, he changed the rule book. And if anybody isn't paying attention, they're gone. It's a whole new ball game. He said, essentially, what's the best thing we can do today, using the best available technology today? And if you did a survey a year ago, it's probably out of date. You got to learn how to do things on a more current basis. You said it this morning, Chuck, and Neil, you said it too. What's the best thing to do today? I've been discussing it with your team for a long time, and I expect that in the near future I'll meet with them again and put some specific plans on a road. Not much to say here. In finance, I'll tell them what's going on and that they have to replace Susan because she doesn't know how to get rid of married pair, and maybe Mitch for the crossing lights. But you are listening, and once we have a conversation, we can go forward. They're not listening. That's the difference. Governor Cuomo said, what can we do today using the best available technology? If you don't understand that, you're gone. But you understand it, Neil understands it, and so we're making steps forward. I'll have more to say in finance.
Honestly, we're not going to hear you in finance because no one cares. Alright, so next up, we're going to make an epic rant, and that will wrap up today's video. So, let's talk about epic fails. Oops, wrong one. Okay, here we go. So as you see here, this is a schedule, right? Why in the world does Metro North get to speak for another half hour? Then they have to delay it, and they make New York City Transit start late. Unacceptable. And, not to mention one thing. Do you know that Finance and CPOC meeting, do you know that they had to start late because of this nonsense? Unacceptable. Really? Unacceptable. I'm not too happy about this. Here's what I think they should do. New York City Transit, start first. 8:30. Long Island Railroad. 9:30. New York City Transit. No, remember, Metro North Railroad. 10:30. Right? That's my recommendation. Once again, board meeting. This is your last chance to vent about the fare hikes. 2 Broadway, 20th floor. You must make sure that you get to board meeting at 8:30 to get your chance to speak. And I know Jason is going to be there because, once again, it's very important that we get our voices heard. I'll be back on Thursday with more coverage because, once again, this needs to be addressed immediately. And once again, Faremageddon is this Thursday, so make sure you book your calendars for Faremageddon because it's coming. Faremageddon, Faremageddon, Faremageddon. I said it 3 times already, 4 times, 5 times, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't even know at this point because, honestly, I am dreading it. And January 24th will be a day I will be happy or I will be upset. So, with that being all said, we've talked for 55 minutes already. Well, the Saturday was shorter, but that's going to wrap it up. Thank you all for watching. Until the next one, please take care.